Yes, sir. So, good afternoon, everyone. I invite Dr. Krishna Kumar sir to give the welcome address.
Okay. Uh, Good afternoon, everybody. On behalf of the DOM SAU Technologics Department of Management Studies, Anna University, Chennai 25, we are very happy to present a webinar on this topic, Chennai to Antarctica, a project management perspective, by Mr. Engineer Ramanan Selvam. He is a Senior Manager, Project Management, Mahindra Research Valley, Chennai. I thank all my faculty colleagues, especially our professor and head, for having given permission to organize this webinar, and also all our student friends and those who have all joined here. I welcome once again, and I take this opportunity to thank all of you for giving this opportunity to welcome the gathering. Thank you. Harshit.
Thank you, sir. I take immense pleasure in introducing the guest speaker for today's event. Uh, Engineer Ramanan Selvam has more than 2 decades of corporate experience in the automotive industry. He has exposure in OEM, Tier 1, and service industries. He has he has experience in new product from the Project Management Institute of USA. He is also passionate about travel and he has explored exotic destinations like Antarctica, Egypt, Iceland, Cambodia, and Madagascar. I welcome Engineer Ramanan Selvam, and the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Uh, I'll go ahead with the presentation. I'll switch off my camera. Yeah, I just gone into a presentation mode. Is it visible?
Yes, sir, we are able to see that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So when you think about Antarctica, we always feel the chillness. It's a bone-chilling, fascinating place and a paradise for penguins and a lot of wildlife only specific to Antarctica. It's the southernmost part of the world, always covered with the snow, white continent, and with a lot of blizzard. So going to such a place, spending around more than 25 days and a huge amount of money for a common man is going to be a project. It's not our regular work. As a project manager, as with the project management background, how I have handled my Antarctica trip efficiently. That is the topic. So let's go. So I started from Chennai to Antarctica. It's a kind of storytelling. So now, when you think about the project, it is not only for the related to corporate. Even in our life, everyday life, we come across a lot of projects. If you know the project management tools, we can implement and achieve the results efficiently. That is the main idea. So in our day-to-day life, generally we have two type of activities. One is our regular routine work. Another one is specifically we will be having a target timeline as well as some budget and with a temporary team. There will be a temporary team working on it. So we can say there are two type of activities in our day-to-day life. One is I can say operation, which is our day-to-day work, going to office, whereas a project is nothing but one-time initiative. You will get a unique output, whereas in our day-to-day operation, you will get a repetitive output. So project is a one-time initiative, whereas operation is an ongoing work. And with the project, you will get a unique output. Whereas in operation, the output is repetitive. There is a permanent team in the operation. But whereas in the project, the team is temporary. The organization is temporary. So there is and in the same way, when it comes to the corporate world, again, the definition remains same. Suppose if I want to design a new car, it is going to be a project. Let us say that it may take 3 months time from the design to production. Sorry, 3 years time from the design to production. In between, there will be a CAE analysis. There will be a lot of testing, rig level testing, vehicle level testing. Then we will be setting up the production line. It may take generally 3 to 4 years. So that is going to be a project. Whereas once the the project is completed, once that we hand over it to the operations, they will start producing it. Every day they will be producing 100 cars or 1,000 cars. That is called as an operation. So when you go for a new product design, it is going to be a project. When it is an ongoing work, it is an operation. So, and a PMP point of view, the PMI is a Project Management Institute, USA. They have a course on the project management. So it is called PMP, Project Management Professional Certification. According to the PMP and PMI, the definition is the project is a temporary effort undertaken to create a unique product. It can be tangible, or it can be a service, maybe a software service, or it can be a result. There may be a research on the community, you will get some output. So the delivery can be product, service, or result. So this is nothing but the definition for the project. Now, what is project management? So you know that project is a temporary effort to create a unique delivery. To achieve the delivery, there may be some tools and techniques used to achieve the target. Here you can see on the left lower corner. So you have the project management process, general project management process, the blue line. And you, based on the organization, there may be some process. Then you have a project management. So if you don't have this project management process, the target you may not be achieving. So to achieve the target with a required time and budget, you need to have the process, which is nothing but project management. So the application of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques on the project activities to meet the project requirement is nothing but project management. Now, maybe to make it interactive, I have made this, but anyway, because of already 50% of time is over. So building a house, I can say it's a project because it's going to be a one-time initiative. It is going to be a temporary activity, let's say 2 years or 3 years. Then later it will be handed over. So the project, it's a project. Whereas purchasing a stationaries to office may be a routine work. In the same way, organizing a VAV workshop, it's going to be a project. Even this is a project. Whatever we are doing is a project. It's going to be for 1 hour with some team members. And then in the same way, introducing a CRM software. So whereas the production of a car in the assembly line is not a project, it is going to be an operation. So proto build of an electric vehicle, developing a new transmission assembly line. So relocation of R&D center, optimizing the existing process, introduction of new process, building a new factory. All these things are known as project. So I hope you got some high level difference between the project and operation. So now there is a question, why should we need a project? In our life or in the professional or personal, if you want to be, make it, if you want to go to a next level, then you should implement some change. To implement the change, you need to have a project. Let's say, for example, in this picture, there is an organization which is currently operating only in India. When they want to globally develop their organization, they have to introduce a lot of projects. So projects, it's nothing but enables business value creation by driving a change. So any change, if you want to implement, it can be done only through project. And we have seen this, the results may be tangible or intangible. So it can be to increase the market share, to increase the asset. And then tangible means to have a good relationship with the customer, brand recognition, all those things. The output can be tangible or intangible, that is what. So the success depends on the project. Now, of course, yes. And then there are 3 triple constraints. So we got a difference between project and operation and need of the project. And then now we have to remember these 3 constraints. Anytime, whenever you come across the word project, you always think about the 3 constraints. Because the project is always limited to budget, and there may be specific time and scope. The scope is nothing but a specification. All these things. In case, if there is a change on the scope in between, there may be an impact on the cost or on the timeline. And if somebody asks you to reduce the timeline, instead of delivering it 3 years, if they ask you to deliver in 2 years, there may be some issue on the features. There may be a compensation on the features, or there may be additional increase on the cost. So without these 3 constraints, you cannot work. If there is a change on one constraint, there will be impact on other 2. So this you have to remember. And then you should have came across the three words. There is something called a project, and then program and portfolio. So project is nothing but, which we have already seen. A program is nothing but related projects. When it is managed together, you will get more benefits. For example, if a company want to produce productionize a car, they can combine two locations, or maybe they can consider their export volume also, so that both can be worked out together. They can get a better supplier, high number of volumes, better price. So it can be, whenever you get a project, if it is managed together, if you get more benefit, it can be called as program. And portfolio is nothing but the organization level. Let's say that one automobile company, they want to be number 2 position within 2 years. So to achieve that number 2 position, what they have to do? They have to see who is the number 1 and what is their product portfolio, and then what is their market share. To achieve that market share, what they have to do? They have to introduce new products, new locations they have to introduce. So all these things are called as, there may be a lot of projects, a number of projects, more than one project or more than one program. If it is together handled to achieve the organization goal, it is called as a portfolio. Now, again, what are the reasons for the project? So one is, we told, we have already discussed, to implement a change. To implement the change, what is the trigger, or what is the need for the change? There may be a new technology. Now, most of the organization, they are working on the battery vehicle. So whoever is working on the IC engine, they have to work on the electric vehicle. And then competition forces. Because of the competition, they have to introduce some new projects. There is a business need, export, environment consideration, now pollution control, BS6 introduction. So all those things are calling for a new project. In the same way, market demand, political change, economic change, everything calls for a project. So in this first presentation, we have seen what is the definition of the project, and then what is the difference between the project and operation, and what is the difference between project, program, and portfolio, and what are the triple constraints. This is all about the basics of project management. Sir, I hope you are able to follow the screen sharing. Everything is okay. Audio is okay. Hello, can someone reply?
Yes, sir. We can see your screen, sir.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So now we have seen the basics of project, and then operation, difference between operation and project. Now we'll see quickly on the phases of the project. Any project, it will have 5 phases. One is the pre-project work before, okay. So it is nothing but identifying your requirement, and then in the project initiation phase, those requirement, whichever is identified, it has to be converted into a specification or scope, means into a measurable specification. And then to achieve that specification, what are all the activities to be done? So identify the activity, and then to do that activity, what are the resources required? That is nothing but planning. And in the execution is nothing but, you have already identified the activities to achieve the specification, just perform those activities and monitor. And then once the activities are over, hand over the deliverables and document the lessons learned. In a high level, this is what the project phases. Now, in going into detail, the pre-project work is nothing but you have to come up with the business case. With that business case, what is going to be the benefit to the management? This is nothing but, generally, if I want to introduce a new product, I will get a requirement from my marketing team mentioning that I need a vehicle, a commercial vehicle with this powertrain, with this much seating capacity, all those things they will say. And this is what, if you deliver it within 3 years, and this will be our benefit to the organization. Like that, they will come out with the business case requirement. And then those things, it has to be converted into project scope. And then I will generate a project request. In this project request, high level budget, and then timeline will be mentioned. It should be approved, so that along with all the stakeholders, so that there will be a common understanding. There should not be a letter, no, I have asked for this specification, but you have delivered Y. I have asked for X. So there should not be any misunderstanding. That is why we have this project request. So in this case, what are the tools we will be using? So we will be using the project charter as well as the stakeholder identification. The stakeholders are nothing but who will affect our project or who is getting affected by our project deliverables. So the stakeholders can be negative or positive. So we have to identify in the beginning the stakeholders and then make action plan to handle those stakeholders. This is very, very important. There are a lot of projects failed due to poor stakeholder handling. I'm sorry, there is a noise. So this is about the project initiation phase. In the planning phase, we have already mentioned it is nothing but identifying the activities. So here, if you go into detail, we have to define the work packages. So what are all the activities? Those activities may be work package number 1, 2. We can create a project structure. And then for the each and every project structure, you have to plan the resources and then define the team. Once you have the resources defined, then you have to define the team and then approve the project charter. So here it is nothing but the project request. Here we are going in detail with defining the team members, activities, and then resources. So here again, the stakeholder, the tools what we use is in the first project initiation phase, we will identify the stakeholders, whereas in the planning phase, we have to do the analysis on the stakeholders and then do the action plan. Maybe we can see in detail about the stakeholder analysis. Then we have the risk analysis. So one is identifying the activities to achieve the project scope. There is something apart from the activities, there may be some risk identified and unidentified risk may occur. This we can get it through brainstorming, earlier project lessons learned. So then you have to do the risk analysis. To do the risk analysis, and then we may need additional budget, which is nothing but a contingency budget. That also need to be considered. That is what in the planning phase itself, we have to identify the risk. So then the execution. Execution is nothing but execute the task and then report the progress, track cost, time, and target. So all the three constraints to be tracked. Whether are we on track on the cost? Are we spending the budget? Are we spending the finance within the budget? The timeline is okay. All those things, the quality to be checked. And then RASI chart. To do the execution, we should have the RASI chart, task list, status report. These are the tools we use in the execution phase. And then close out, once the delivery is done, we have to hand over the, sir, is the audio clear or is there a disturbance? The kids are playing, I think. Hello?
Sir, we can hear you, sir. There is slight disturbance, but it's okay, sir.
Thank you. Sorry. So then you have the handover, which is nothing but gathering the hard and the lessons learned, recording the lessons learned, and then you have to close everything. The resources to be released, the team should be handed over to the respective department heads, and then finance, whatever the budget you have allotted, are we on track? The remaining budget should be handed over. So resource should be closed and financial closure, all those things be done. So this is again in a high level. You have this project pre-work, initiation phase, planning phase, execution, and closeout. Now, again, in the project PMP point of view, they call it as 10 knowledge areas. So these 10 knowledge areas, if we focus on each and every phase, the project will be handled still efficiently. They call it as procurement plan. Any project, what is that you are going to do? Make versus buy. We call it as whether we want to produce in-house or you want to buy. So the procurement is important. Then schedule, managing the schedule, communication. So what is the communication to be given to which people? So for your the project sponsor, what he will be interested. For your subordinates, what they are interested. What is the kind of status report you want to publish? Those communication management should be there. Then scope, we have discussed, and risk identification. All these 10 knowledge areas, cost, resources, stakeholders, and quality. If you manage these things, the project becomes very simple. So this is nothing but again, the project phases. As a project manager, you have to balance all these four. And then of course, the monitoring and controlling is also important. And when I say initiation planning, it is not like initiation is over, the next phase will start. Nothing like that. There may be an overlap on the phases. Maybe you can see on the top right corner of the image, initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and control, closing the phases. And the right lower corner image shows nothing but the project duration. It's 0 to this one. This is nothing but your project duration. During your project duration, there will not be any benefit. So you'll be spending your money. Once you hand over the project, the utilization of the project results comes, then you will get the benefit. You can see. So it's nothing but once the project is over, it doesn't mean that the deliverables will be also over. No, the deliverables or the results may be having for a quite long time. So again, the project phases, and then this slide I have prepared considering the 10 knowledge areas. And then in each and every phase, what are the tools and techniques used in the PMP point of view? So in the initiation phase, we have discussed project charter or project request will be done. And then you have to identify the stakeholders. In the planning phase, you have to go for a project management plan and then collect the requirements. The requirements should be converted into scope. Then you have to define the activities in the work breakdown structure. For each and every work breakdown structure, you have to estimate the resources. Before that, you have to sequence the activities. So this is nothing but your complete project management in a nutshell, I can say. You can just go in this order. So collect the requirement, define into scope, create a work breakdown structure, and then sequence the activities. You should have heard the network diagram, and then estimate the duration for each and every activity, and then estimate the cost, allocate, estimate the budget, then plan quality management. So all these comes into planning group, and you have the identify risk, quantitative analysis and qualitative analysis to be done on the risk identified. Then you have to go for the plan procurement and stakeholder management. So now this planning phase is over, then execution. So execution is nothing but just execute the work and then report the progress. And here, monitoring and control, it is very important. You have to have a gateway or the audit in each and every phase. So we call it as a gateway audit or gateway checklist. So you have to validate the scope, and then control the schedule, control the cost. Maybe if we have time, we can see in detail. Then handing over the project. So this is nothing but the project phases. Let me see if I'm able to manage the kids. Hey, hello, hello. Hey, Tanvi. Okay, so hello. Yeah, so now we understood the basics of project, and we have seen the phases of the project and the tools and techniques to be used in each and every phase, as well as the 10 knowledge areas in the project management. Now, for my Antarctica project, I have to do some pre-work. So, to be open and frank, when I studied, this is nothing but this is the map of Antarctica, but I have never seen this kind of map during my studies. During our 10th standard, we used to make a graph in this bottom area. But when you see in the globe point of view, this is how Antarctica looks like. So when you have to approach from South America or from Australia. But whereas from South America, it is hardly 965 kilometers. Ando, can you ask the kids to keep quiet? So here again from Australia, it is around 2,500 kilometers. So it is better to go via South America. And when you think about South America, there are two countries, Chile and Argentina. So you have options to start from Chile or from Argentina. If it is Chile, you have to start from Punta Arenas. If it is Argentina, you have to start your cruise from Ushuaia. Again, there are two types of itineraries. One is seeing only this peninsula, Antarctic Peninsula, and coming back. Whereas the second type of itinerary is going to the Falkland Islands as well as the King George Island, where the wildlife will be better. So the long itinerary is coming around 20 days, whereas the short itinerary is coming around 14 days. Again, when you should go. So you can see the picture. if you see the Antarctica here, in the month of October, you can see the ice around the Antarctica continent. You can't even approach. Whereas in the February, the ices are melt, so you can approach Antarctica. So only in summer, from November to January or February, mid only, we can go to Antarctica. So how should I go? I have to go to South America from Argentina or Chile. When should I, how many days? Yes, we have seen. And then when should I go? November to January. So it's a kind of a small comparison table I have made while working with the different cruise operators. So who is the operator name? And then there is a expedition team members and passengers and the number of zodiac landing per day. So we call it, the ship will not go to the shore. When you are going to Antarctica from South America, once you start, you have to spend 2 days in the Drake Passage before reaching the Antarctica. Once you reach Antarctica, there may be different location. From the ship, you have to go in a small boat. They call it as zodiac landing. And then in a number of, in a day, how many zodiac landing they are allowing. And then what are the foods and beverages. These are the small things which I have made. And what is the cost? So there's a comparison table I have made. And then there is a checklist. So this is kind of, I will say, pre-project work for my Antarctica trip. Is the tour operator IATO member, International Association for Antarctica tour operation, and then what kind of services, whether the food, the insurance, everything is included, and then how many passengers will be there, how many zodiac landing is the, what about the expedition team members, the tour guides, whether there is people from Nat Geo, Discovery Channel, whether there will be a doctors who will be explaining about the wildlife, all those things we have to study so that the trip will be interesting. So I have made a checklist, I have made a comparison table. This is what the project pre-work I have done for my project. So then we are going to the initiation phase. So in the initiation phase, we have already discussed. In the first phase, we have to identify the scope and then identify the stakeholders. So in the project scope is nothing but, okay, the product scope is nothing but the deliverables to be met. And then the project scope is to achieve the deliverables, what are the work to be done? There should not be gold plating, we say, in project management term. So when the customer is asking for X, we should deliver only X. There is no gold plating required. In the same way, for my project, the scope is I selected for the short itinerary, and then the budget is around 4 lakhs. And then the total requirement from Chennai to reach South America, including the flight, I need 20 days. So I have to apply for a 20 days. I need to have a 20 days leave. And then you can see the quick see cost, quality, and time. So the cost is, the budget is 3 constraints. The budget is 4 lakhs, and then the time is 20 days. And then what is that I will be seeing? The short itinerary. So I will not be in a position to see the King George Island and then Falkland Island. So this is what my scope. So this is very, very important. The stakeholders are nothing but who is involved in your project directly or indirectly, can influence your project goals positively or negatively. They may affect your project or they can support your project. If you think about Tata Nano, because of the politicians and the local farmers from West Bengal, they have to move it to Gujarat. So it's because of the poor stakeholder handling. Like that, there may be a lot of case studies. So the stakeholder handling is very, very important. And then they will affect your project goals positively or negatively. So for me, for my project, the Antarctica, this, I have just identified as the stakeholders. So my manager who need to provide leave, he is very, very important stakeholder. So I have to handle it very clearly. So during my 20 days absence, who is going, what are the activities are there, who will support during my absence, all those action to be done. And then family members, of course, the boss, the lady boss, I have a manager, lady manager. So the boss in the office and then the boss in the home, who's nothing but my wife, she need to give permission. So I have to convince my family members and then my colleagues, because in my absence, they have to support. And then my cabin mate, I went as a solo traveler, and there is one more person who will be sharing my cruise cost. So even his presence is important. In case if he, last moment, if he cancels, then I have to bear the two people's cost. So my cabin mate cost is also important stakeholder, and then airline, because airline and ship is completely different. So if in case if the last moment if there is an issue with the flight, then I may not be in a right position to reach the Argentina or Chile. And then the tour operator. These are the peoples I have identified as my stakeholders. Now, so again, this is nothing but to how will you prepare a project chart. So you should have a business case and then project scope. What are the targets? So the project questioner is nothing but the project sponsor and then the project manager. They should make a sign off. That's why always in the initiation phase, you have this project request and then stakeholders. And then again, stakeholder is nothing but not only the people, it may be even the environment, even the government, the community groups, local authorities, all those people are stakeholders, media, investors. So you should identify those stakeholders who will affect your project positively or negatively. Then you have to have action plan. So in the project initiation phase, as a quick summary, you should have a project request and then stakeholder identified. So estimate the time plan, define the project scope, estimate the cost, everything in the high level. So you can see the project sponsor and then project manager should have a common understanding. Sir, can I go ahead? The time is 4:05, but still can I go ahead, right, quickly? Hello?
Yes, sir. You can make it short and complete.
Yeah, okay. So here, nothing but the project manager point of view. So you have a very big iceberg in front of you. So now I have already, in principle, I planning to go to Antarctica. But once before going to, before the plan is freezed, I was in a different mood. But once the plan is approved, completely in different mood because within a short period of time I need to plan. So then I have to break into work packages from iceberg to ice. So book the tour, air tickets, insurance, vaccination, visa, what are the things to be purchased. Like that, I need to make a work package. So this is nothing but once you have the scope, and then once the scope is identified, you have to identify the activities to achieve that. So it's nothing but identifying the activities. So here, so you can see to identify the work packages, you can use the mind map technologies, mind map tool, and then work background structure, work packages, and then project plan, and then risk, and then resources, and then define the milestone, RASIC chart. So again, I made a small work breakdown structure. Here you can see what are the documents is required, passport, visa, insurance, and then whether visa, Schengen visa, Europe, as well as the visa to Chile, and then insurance to airline, insurance to the cruise. And when you are going to Antarctica, you should have a special insurance in case if there is an accident, how they will handle. So all those things should be taken care. And then clothing, and then winter wear, snow boots, all those things to be done. So all these things, just for an example to understand, as a big specification, the scope will be breakdown into work packages. Work package 1, 2, 3. It will be easy for you to allot resources for each and every work package. So in the same way, this is what I told. The project management is not a specific to corporate. It is a everyday life. We can use it. Even for a birthday party, you can use the work breakdown structure. And even for constructing a house, the work breakdown structure, again, it can be in any form. It can be object-oriented, phase-oriented, or functional-oriented. So if you want to build a house, maybe it can be a architecture and then construction interior. And if you go in the phase-oriented, what are the things? Draft, purchasing, check. So, and then if you want to object-oriented, so front, structure, utilities, and then again in the front, windows, doors, bricks, like that you can have the work breakdown structure. So managing a conference, what is that you have to do? So accommodation, catering, room, content, agenda, topics, presentation, so marketing, so all these things. So you can see here how to manage a conference. It's a small work breakdown structure. So once you have made into a work breakdown structure, this can be sequenced. There may be, it's nothing but your network diagram you should have came across. So it's like a finish, start, and then start. There may be some activities you can start parallelly, but there are some activities you should finish and start, so that now you can identify the critical path, your project duration will come. So if you are not able to achieve the duration, what we have to do, that we have to see. So here nothing but I have prepared before going to Antarctica, how much time I need. So if you don't have the passport, if you want to renew, at least 30 days you have to have, then visa for the Shanghai, visa for the Chile, 2 weeks, then insurance, all those things considered. I mentioned as minimum 60 days is required to go to, preparation for preparing to Antarctica trip. So again, here there is a business case. So there is a company which manufactures only cycle. Now they want to go for electric bicycle. So they want to initiate this as a project. 11 months is the time given, and they want to outsource the motor. So it is just for example, what are the work packages? Market and customer analysis, competitor analysis, conceptual design. So like that, you can have a work package up to ramp up, from the design to ramp up, 10 work packages. And for each and every work package, what is the duration, and what are the employees required, and what is, employees and experts required. So now you have identified the work packages. Now you have to make a network diagram so that you will identify the critical path. So this is how in a corporate level we work. Once then you have the master timing chart level 2, and then now we are coming to the cost. So for each and every project, so initially it will be very difficult to identify the budget now, but whereas we have split into small work packages, you can easily identify for each and every project, work package, what is the manpower required, what are the other resources required, then you can calculate the cost. Now you have the arrive at the budget. So cost is arrived, budget is arrived. Human resource plan. So what are the experts required for each and every work packages? So there in a project, there may be different people: project questioner, project manager, consultant, steering committee, work package coordinator, functional manager, where you have to depend for the resources, and then team member. So it's a in the so in once the resources identified, then you should have a RASIC chart. So you can create a work package, and then whose RASIC chart you can prepare. Next is the communication. So you have already identified the stakeholders, what need to be communicated, when need to be communicated. This also to be there. Weekly report, MIS, risk report, project report, all those things to be done. And then risk. So it's nothing but uncertain event. If it occurs as a positive or negative effort, how you are going to handle it. So you have to identify the risk, make the probability impact matrix. It's nothing but the analyzing it. And then what is the action plan? So considering there are threats or maybe opportunity. So as I told, the risk may be positive or negative. So if it is negative, those are all the threats. So the action plan may be, you may escalate, you may avoid, you can transfer, you may mitigate, accept. Transferring is nothing but giving, if you are not able to manufacture one critical component, you can give it to supplier so that he can manufacture, whoever is the expert, so that you are reducing the threat. Or sometimes if you have the insurance, it's nothing but again transferring the risk to the insurance company. In the same way, opportunities. If there is an opportunity, what you will do? So it's nothing but you do the probability impact matrix and a risk analysis, then you have to have an action plan. So again, I have identified a few risks. So how we have to handle for the Antarctica trip. So risk chart I have prepared. What is the action plan for that? So then procurement management. So any company, when there is a manufacturing or when they want to produce a product, make or buy analysis will be done. So that is what nothing but the make or buy, and then different types of contract types. So there may be a cost plus percentage or fixed price. That is like this. There are a lot of contract types. You may ask for a request for products, request for quotation. All those things comes into procurement management. So here we have discussed about the earlier we have identified the stakeholders. Now we have to do the stakeholder analysis in the project plan, and then how you handle. So if it is red, what you do? If they have more power and then impact is also high, what you will do? If the impact is less but you have more power, how will you do? So this is nothing but the stakeholder analysis. So here for my project, I have identified the stakeholders. Already I told my manager who need to approve the 20 days leave, and then my family members, my colleagues, my tour operators, my cabin mate. So for each and every stakeholder, I need to have an action plan. So in a nutshell, So mind map, work breakdown structure, work package. Work package is nothing but you will arrive at the duration and then the budget. Once you have that, then you can have a project plan. So this is on the project planning. This is the last slide. I'll quickly run through. So execution. So these are our team members who visited Antarctica. So I have started from Chennai and then went to Rome. From Rome to Santiago, Chile. Then from Chile, Punta Arenas, and then Antarctica. So this is nothing but my execution. Approximately 55,000 kilometers. And this is the path where what are the places we have seen. These are the team members, expedition team members who supported us. And then, so here, more than my project, there are around 450 people, almost 20 different countries, handling those people in each and every zodiac landing, and then planning the dinner or food for them, providing a presentation in 3 different languages, Chinese, German, and English. So they have, the crew members have had a very good project management, I can say. And during the execution time, you will get the resources, how the resources will work, because it's a temporary team. You should have came across this forming, storming, norming, and then performing. So this is all about the project team performance during the project cycle. As a project manager, you should wear different kind of leadership skill depending on the situation. Suppose if the time pressure is high, then you should command. If you have more time, but at the same time you need to deliver, I mean, develop a team, then you can act as a coach. And if the project is on priority, you should play as a politician role. Politician means it's nothing but creating a lot of network so that your project is successfully created. And then moderator, partner. So different roles you can play as a project manager. This we call it as a situational leadership. And then as a project manager, what is it you need to focus? So again, execution, you have to conduct the procurement, stakeholder engagement, quality assurance, communication. So this is all about execution of the project. So utilize the resources, track the progress, plan, do, check, act, track quality, cost, time, maybe when we have and then, so in the monitoring and control, we have to do 2 things. One is the cost and time. So earned value management. So here you can see the small formulas which we use to monitor the project. What is the status? So there may be a cost variance, there may be a schedule variance. So what is the earned value? What is the actual cost? So the small formulas, you can find it anywhere. So in any point of time, periodically, you can go for the cost variance as well as the schedule variance. Are we on track with respect to the cost? Are we on track with respect to the schedule? If not, what we need to do? Escalation or any other action plan to be done. So this is nothing but monitoring and control. Maybe you can check the cost variance as well as the schedule variance. It's nothing but the project closeout. And now quickly, so some thought process. So initially, during earlier stage, I deliver the project with a given time, cost, and quality. Is my job over? Whether the project deliverables has met the business goals. Can I have the same kind of approach to the project? So these things are just open for you. Maybe you can think. And then earlier we have a traditional approach, meeting the timeline, cost and quality, and meeting the triple line constraint. No, as a project manager, it's not only meeting the triple constraint. There should be impact on the customer. You can affect the business results and then future oriented. So you can have a quick click. So it's as a project manager, you should think about beyond triple constraint. So these are the traditional approach for the predictive requirement. So it's nothing but the 5 phases, whatever you have seen. But whereas now people are talking about agile, iterative, incremental delivery, particularly in the IT industry, whether it can be implemented in the manufacturing industry also. Yes, So there's nothing but iterative, incremental, and agile. So what is the difference between agile and predictive environment? So these are all things identified. Apart from that, there is one more thought process. You can think about this NTCP. It's reinventing project management from HBR. So any project before going into depth, you can see, you can identify whether the technology, novelty, phase, and complexity. So you can see novelty, whether the product or the customers. Sometimes the product may be new for a company or even the customers. If I want to implement a product in Africa, what will be their behavior? We don't know. So the novelty. So in case if the behavior is new, what you have to do? So it's nothing but less market data, later requirement freeze. So the market data is less. So what I will do is I will freeze the requirement in a later stage. Slowly I will implement and then see what is the behavior. Then I will freeze the design. In the same way, if the phase is nothing but how urgent is the work. So for example, COVID. So we need to implement this vaccination plan. So the individual, let's say for example, the collectors or the regional head should have more power so that he can implement. This nothing but if the more the time critical, you should have the project team members should have the power. So in the same way, you can think complexity, technology. So how it is done. And then again in detail, the different types of project method. So if the requirements are clear and fixed, you can go for the predictive approach. If the requirements are not clear and dynamic, and then correct, but the correctness of solution is required means iterative. If the requirements are not clear and dynamic, but the speed is means then you should go for incremental, deliver partially so that they can use it. And then agile is combination of everything, predictive, iterative, and incremental. So not clear, not dynamic, even the customer value is more important, then go for the agile approach. So that's it. Sorry, I have ran very quickly, but I have no other option. Any feedback, anything else?
Very well done, sir.
Thank you, sir. I'm not sure, but because of the time constraint as well as
Good, sir.
the presentation, sorry, I downloaded the app just to present this, but unfortunately still.
That's the NTCP we are seeing in our project presentation itself. Novelty, technology, complexity, as well as the pace. I think we could match up with the pace.
Yeah. Okay. So and also I'm not sure whether the Antarctica, combining the Antarctica trip as well as this, because